I'm Adam Chaplin, and I top-8'd Battle Hardened Charlotte by winning 3 games. So how it happened, I sit down for the first draft in the morning. I force Icelander from pack 1, pick 1. There's one other Icelander in the pod, so my deck ends up pretty cracked. I have an Insidious Chill, about 15 blues, and just a number of power reds and yellows. End up getting there in some pretty close games in general. On the play, game 3, I get to Insidious Chill a Fi, and I end the game with no counters on it and it in the graveyard, so pretty good. 3-0 going into the second draft. After they post the pairings, I go and try and find my name, but it seems as though my name is not on the list, so a judge escorts me to the event stage, where I'm told I dropped from the event, which, after I'm told that, I look at my phone, and it seems that I did. I tell them that I did not mean to drop, and fortunately they were able to get me back in, but due to the pods being paired already, I am sent to the bottom table, where there's a 5-player pod. The draft goes pretty well. I just go Icelander again with one other Icelander in the pod. At the end of the draft, 2 of the players immediately drop. So once we're done with the second draft, we go and get our decks registered and checked by players in different pods to guarantee deck authenticity. And I am across from Yanji Lee, who finishes registering my deck in about 2 minutes because he's an expert. I go and sit down for my round 1 of the second draft, where I am paired with one of the players who dropped. So after 3 minutes, I yell for a judge, and they tell me to wait till 25 to call again, and then we figure it all out. So after another 7 minutes, I call for a judge, and I'm rewarded with a win for my patience. And then going into the second round of the second draft, I am paired against the other player who dropped, but because he had a bye in the first round, he was not dropped from the tournament. So I'm 2-0 going into the third round of the second draft, where I am now playing against Yanji Lee, who checked my deck, and we checked each other's decks, so we were basically playing with open information. I lose to Yanji in a pretty close game, I'd like to say, at least, where I end up top-8ing in 7th place, having only played 3 winning games on the day. In the top 8 draft, I pack 1, pick 1, a foil Phoenix form, and I seem to be in a pretty good seat to be playing Fi, and I keep pulling pretty reasonable Fi cards. I pick a Tide Flippers pretty early on in the first pack, and then throughout the rest of the draft there are 4 more other Tide Flippers opened. So at that point I'm kind of regretting my early pick, as I may have missed some pretty important reds and some other cards I could have grabbed instead, but it ended up working out pretty well. My deck felt pretty good going into the rounds. I managed to take a very close game versus a Dromai. Round 2 of the top 8 draft versus an Icelander. Towards the end of the game versus the Icelander, I am pushing good damage, and we are both in a pretty low spot where I'm at 1 and he's at 2. And it comes down to a turn where he plays Read the Ripples and Waning Moons me for 2. It was a good run, and it was a lot of good games versus good players, and I'm very happy that I managed to get as far as I did, even if it was on something of a miracle run and by chance. I'm happy I managed to take at least a game in top 8, and I wasn't to show that I wasn't there just by luck entirely necessarily. I still managed to 3-0 the first draft, and that felt pretty good. But this does not seem like a situation that would happen to many players, or you wouldn't expect such a thing to be happening. Even though it was a fun story for me, hopefully this kind of thing doesn't happen again, as it kind of discredits the wins and games being played by other people who are playing through their grueling matches of the draft and putting in every ounce they can to be coming out on top. I managed to top 8, having won 3 games out of my 6. I hope to see you guys all at Worlds. Like, comment, and subscribe. Tell me if you think I luck sacked into it, or if you think it was fair how it ended up.